First Thessalonians chapter 3, verse 1 says, so when we could no longer stand it, we thought it good to be left in Athens alone. So obviously this is connected to the previous chapter. So let me check out the last couple verses. For what is our expectation or joy or crown of boasting, if not, is it not even you before our sovereign Yahushua HaMashiach at his coming? For you are our esteem and joy. So when we could no longer stand it, we thought it good to be left in Athens alone. And said Timotheus, our brother and servant of Elohim, and our fellow worker in the good news of Mashiach, to establish you and encourage you concerning your belief, that no one should be unsettled by these pressures, for you yourselves know that we are appointed to this. So once again, well, I would have to read a lot more from the previous chapter, which we already did. Last, well, a couple weeks back, he was talking about how eager they were to be with them, the congregation of the Thessalonians. And well, for instance, this, for you remember, brothers, our toil and hardship for laboring night and day in order not to burden any of you. We proclaim to you the good news of Elohim, and also about all the affection, but mainly, once again here, but having suffered before and having been mistreated. So he's talking about all the pain and suffering that we must endure in order to receive the reward, while being in this reality where pain would be a reality. We would feel that pain, certain pain, because of our belief in Mashiach. So that's why it says here that no one should be unsettled by these pressures, for you yourselves know that we are appointed to this. It is part of it. So we shouldn't be feeling like it is strange that we are called crazy, that we are rejected by many or others or all, as scripture says that we will be hated by all because of his name. So I say that even though it should be obvious or clear already, but well, same reason why Paul has to say it here, because it is when one is starting in the belief and preaching, teaching others, those around, not necessarily as a teacher or preacher of a congregation, but just I believe in a way everybody, well, we know all have a ministry, right? So we all should teach in a way, one way or another, through our example, through our words, through the way we live. In a way, we are teachers to those around us. So my point is that when, well, I have come to understand that it is very normal, sadly, that most, when they come to the truth, they are unsettled, in fact, by those facts, the reality that by believing in Messiah, people will reject you, will call you names, and will do things that one wouldn't expect, or even less want. So a lot of people feel like it doesn't make sense. Like, why are these things happening to them once they came to the Almighty, once they decided to follow the Creator, which is the same with tests, right? A lot of people come to the Father and then they begin to be tested and tempted, and they have issues. And those, sometimes those issues are those tests, and they don't understand that it is because they are actually now going towards the Father that the enemy tries to take them away from the Father. So the enemy will appear putting obstacles in order to make the person believe he or she shouldn't go that way. So the same happens when we are rejected and all those things, the peer pressure, right, from this reality society mainly, and we are affected by it because of thoughts put there by the enemy, by the flesh, by the desire to be accepted, right? So Paul has to explain it here and says that no one should be unsettled by these pressures, for you yourselves know that we are appointed to this. For indeed, we did inform you beforehand when we were with you that we would suffer pressure, and so it came to be, as you know. So once again, not only he has to say it here, but he has to remind them that he had already said it to them. For indeed, we did inform you beforehand when we were with you that we would suffer pressure, and so it came to be, as you know. Because of this, when I could no longer stand it, I sent to find out about your belief, lest the trying, you see what I was saying here, the trying one. We know that Yahweh doesn't tempt anyone, although he allows everyone to be tried by their flesh, well, the desires of the flesh, which the trying one, the enemy, uses to try and take the person out of the way, pretty much. So because of this, when I could no longer stand it, I sent to find out about your belief, lest the trying one might have tried you, and our labor should be in vain. So it is a reality that everybody should understand. Not well, a lot of people, how can I put it? I guess it depends on a lot on the faith of the person. Well, even wisdom that the person may have or whatever. But there are people who would see this as enough, like as a sign that they should not enter the way or follow the Almighty, which makes no sense, of course. But I want to be tried. A lot of people do not want to have uh, anything bothering them, which is obvious. We all want to be comfortable. We all want to be, feel as good as possible. So we tend to avoid anything that may bring affliction in any way, no matter how small. Yet we need to understand as well that good things need or come after a lot of effort, and effort pretty much hurts, right? As for instance, like one of the most simple examples is exercise. We know how good it is for the body, yet it is not that enjoyable. Well, it depends what exercise in the person, but if it was if it was as enjoyable as one would want, then everybody would be all fit, right? And there will be no obesity and whatever, because people would enjoy doing it. So it is hard. It takes effort, pain. It hurts the day after, but it is for a good purpose when it comes to the body. So even more when it comes to the spirit. So we need to understand that the trying of our patience, the trying of our goodness, belief, faith, hope, etc., all of that is to make us stronger, to make us better in the spiritual realm. So I was saying all of that because sadly, as Paul is saying here, he was worried that the Thessalonians would go away from the way which he taught them because of the tests of the trying one right here, as he says, lest the trying one might have tried you and our labor should be in vain. So he was saying, I hope that everything that we've done with you guys, everything that we taught you was not in vain. We didn't lose our time. However, like I have always said, we wouldn't, or he wouldn't have lost any time, or he wouldn't be in vain for their souls, but not in general. For when we preach to someone, if that person doesn't accept it, we still did what we needed to do. So we are still fulfilling our job. They are rejecting it. So now what we taught them or told them will work as a testimony against them when the time comes for judgment. So it would not be in vain in the general sense of the word, but in the sense of their souls, of course it would. So Paul is worried, and that's why he sent somebody in order to find out about their belief and how they were doing, to see if the trying one had made them fall. But now that Timotheus has come to us from you, and having brought us good news of your belief and love, and that you always have good remembrance of us, longing to see us, as we also to see you. Therefore, brothers, in all our pressure and distress, we encourage, therefore, brothers, in all our pressure and distress, we were encouraged concerning you by your belief. So when he realized that they were still in the way, believing, that was enough to make them feel less pressure, to feel better, even under the pressure that they were at the moment. Because we now live, if you stand fast in the sovereign. Because we now live, if you stand fast in the sovereign. For what thanks are we able to return to Elohim for you, for all the joy with which we rejoice for your sake in the presence of our Elohim, night and day praying exceedingly to see your face and make complete what is lack in your belief. This right here, next to what he was saying regarding how encouraged they were by hearing about the belief or emunah of the Thessalonians, because we now live if you stand fast in the sovereign. So just the fact that all those that had heard still maintain the faith, the emunah in Mashiach, was enough to continue living even under the pressure. And then it says, for what thanks are we able to return to Elohim for you, for all the joy with which we rejoice for your sake in the presence of our Elohim, night and day praying exceedingly to see your face and make complete what is lacking in your belief. Make complete what is lacking in your belief. This is very important. Well, one part, right, there's nothing that we can say or give to the Almighty Creator for everything that he has given us and the joy that he gives us through the fact that he will save those who have heard his good news from us. But also, as it says, to see your face and make complete what is lacking in your belief, because they would have to go back to teach them what they still didn't know in order to complete what was lacking in their belief. Also, through the teaching and through them going back, they would help them to grow in faith in order to complete what was lacking in their faith. If there was still any doubt about anything, they could ask and receive an answer and understand, and therefore grow until their belief was complete. And our Elohim and Father himself and our sovereign Yahushua HaMashiach direct our way to you, and the sovereign make you increase and overflow in love to each other and to all, as we also do to you, to establish your hearts blameless in set apartness before our Elohim and Father at the coming of our sovereign Yahushua HaMashiach with all his set apart ones. With all his set apart ones. So this mainly refers to Revelation 19, when we see Mashiach on the white horse with the heavenly army behind him. To establish your hearts blameless in set apartness before our Elohim and Father at the coming of our sovereign Yahushua HaMashiach with all his set apart ones. Another way in which this can be interpreted in a more spiritual sense, I guess, the coming of the last, who is the messenger of Mashiach Yahushua, who is coming with 144,000 who will be set apart and they won't experience death. So that was that chapter.